Okay. Oh, it's like this, huh? All right. Welcome to another episode of McKale Madness. I'm Saul Bookman. That's my guy, Corey Williams. We are here to break it all down because there's been a lot of movement. But I would just like to start it off by saying I have never met a transfer.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I've loved in the whole wide world. Oh boy, here we go. It's transfer season. I got into it, but I couldn't get into it all the way. So, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
It's transfer season. You never had to deal with this portal madness as a player, but I don't even know how to wrap my head around it. It's a constant movement. Over 1,700 players have entered the portal. We'll get into that in a minute. But overall, right now, KJ, Henri Veesaar, Conrad Martinez, and Emmanuel all gone into the transfer portal. And two of them most likely not coming back whatsoever, KJ, Lewis, and Henry. So, a lot of movement.
Man, it's symptomatic of what everybody's experiencing. You bring in a player, you coach him up, and then you lose him to the portal. Nobody in Tucson had heard of Omar Ballo before he stepped foot on campus and arrived with Tommy Lloyd. A couple years later, he's getting $1 million at Indiana. Henri Veesaar dunked on a lot of people this year. I don't mean some. I don't mean a few. He dunked on a lot of people this year. He caught lobs. He made threes. And every time that 7-footer did something, I had a lot of Arizona games this year. Cha-ching, 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 and you knew it was going to happen. I'm a little surprised because Tommy's always had the good connection with the Lithuanian kids and their handlers and their workers, but Veesaar's stock increased to a point where I'm not surprised he's at North Carolina. The bag you go to put together for a 7-footer that can shoot threes, rim run, block shots. He does need to put on some weight. He had a lot of balls knocked away from him this year because he wasn't as strong as he needed to be up top. But that's just economic pressure right there. The young man played himself into another tax bracket, and you can't dedicate too much of the budget to one player. So, guys price themselves out. KJ Lewis, good Lord. That one hurts because I think he was defensively the identity of the Arizona team. There were a lot of tough plays that he made that didn't end up on stat sheets. I think he brought that attitude, that swag out on the court for Arizona. If Arizona had one or two more KJ Lewises, things might have been different. You know what I mean? And that's not a knock on any of the guys that they have, but let's just be real. If you be like, okay, does Arizona have any dogs? The first name anyone's going to say is KJ Lewis. So losing him, that's a tough one to replace because though that's an intangible replacement. You can replace points and scoring and things like that, but that's an intangible replacement. Conrad Martinez, he could be at a WCC school starting at point guard, making buckets. He could be playing at St. Mary's. There's so many mid-majors that need a solid point guard. He never really got a chance to show himself at Arizona. Tommy was always high on him as a player. I saw him in practice, always under control, going toe-to-toe against Jaden Bradley. Obviously, you're going to pick up some things, but you're right. 2 years at Arizona, it's time to shine. It's time to step out and see what he can do. Not nearly the loss as the other ones, but man, it's time to shake up the deck. And this is the part of college basketball that fan bases aren't familiar with. And this is the part of college basketball that fan bases have quickly learned that they hate. That reorganizing your team every year. This is something that is never been a thing for 50 years, and all of a sudden it's reality.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll get into that. We'll get into the meat and potatoes of the transfer portal here in a little bit. But all right, so let me just kind of reassess. KJ Lewis is the first one that enters the portal, and upon doing so, you get a mixture of good, we don't need him, and then we get a mixture of, I really liked him as a player, but hope he thrives somewhere else. And then you have a mixture of, he's easily replaceable. And and I've gotten back and forth a couple times with people on Twitter just about this. Just like, dude, listen, maybe the offensive output, sure. Could you find that somewhere? I would agree. Like the numbers weren't so insurmountable if you can go to the transfer portal and find somebody that can give you 10, 5, and 3, right? Like, okay, you might be able to get that. However, that is completely just absolutely disregarding everything on the defensive side of the ball. Everything. Like, yeah, and people are bringing up stuff that happened at the beginning of the season. Oh, he's always in foul trouble. He's getting texts all the time. Like, the guy hasn't gotten a text since the non-conference, way back, a couple months ago, right? Like, it's irrelevant. In addition to that, KJ, again, you talk about a dog, like somebody that you just know you can throw out there. They're going to give you everything they got, and they're going to be pissed off when it doesn't go their way on the court because they want to win so bad. They want to perform at a high level so bad. Like, so I sometimes I just want to be like, miss me with that stuff about how he's easily replaceable, because there's not a lot of guys that are out there in the country that can defend guys at the level that KJ Lewis can. Straight up. Like, listen, you look back at that BYU game, for example, and it was neck and neck. KJ comes in and Hall was on a heater. He shut Hall down. Game over. We go on a 10-0 run. That was it. There was other instances like that where they needed to bring him in because the first half, so-and-so got cooking. All right, second half, let's put KJ on him. Shut him down. Like, shutdown defenders are not easy to find. I don't care what you think. They're just not. You have to have a certain type of build about you, a certain kind of DNA about you, and they don't just grow on trees. Just like elite scorers don't grow on trees. Like, so I know we like to value the offensive, the aesthetic, the beautiness of the stat stuffing stuff, but KJ Lewis brought something that isn't easily defined on a stat sheet, because diving for a loose ball doesn't come up on a stat sheet. You know, wrecking the offensive guy doesn't come up on stat sheet, but it has tremendous influence on the game. And so in regards to KJ, that's that. Henry, I think I'm probably more disappointed, not shocked, but I'm a little bit more disappointed in Henry, because listen, like you said, Tommy invested in him. He was injured, then didn't get a lot of burn. And then he finally got his moment after Krivas' injury to really like show what he's got. And he excelled, and he did really, really well. He surpassed expectations. Good for him. And I'm just to say this, man, like, I think right now what everybody's learning is both teams and players are only as faithful as their options. And that's just what it comes down to. Henri Veesaar is gone. He's probably most likely going to North Carolina if he hasn't already committed yet. He had a no contact order, which means you already know that something was already lined up for him behind the scenes before he even got to the portal. And here we are. It's a little deflating, I'm sure, as a coach, but also at the same time, a player's got to do what they got to do. And they only get a limited runway to be able to get the kind of money right now, especially with how things are about to change, to be able to take advantage of something so lucrative. So, I mean, like, I'm disappointed, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad that he's left. Like, hey, listen, and this is what I'll finish with before you get back to you, Corey. Put yourself in that position, in that position in your career right now. If somebody came through that door and said, hey, heard a lot about you, we like what you do for X and X organization, we want to double, triple, quadruple your salary to come work for us, what do you think you're going to do?
You got to go.
You know what I mean?
You got to go. One of the hard lessons I learned as a professional was two things. One, you're only worth what you played for last. So guys coming to Europe out of the CBA on $30,000 contracts, they offered him $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to come play in France, Spain, Germany. Why would you offer the guy more? He just came off a $30,000 contract. Doesn't matter how good he is. He's a $30,000 player. Anytime you had a chance to increase your salary, you increased your value. There were times where I had to debate on whether I was going to go to free agent camp in the NBA or I was going to go back to Belgium where I had a guaranteed deal. And the teams were like, well, we'll give you $2,000 a week to come practice. I said, no, I make that in Belgium. I'm going to go back to Belgium. I am $100,000 player. If you're not going to make it worth my while, at least $10,000 a month, I'm not staying. So guys are always trying to increase their value. And for Henry, that's what you got to do. You got to take the next best offer. I mean, to turn down money and stay at whatever Arizona can afford to pay. And I'm assuming it had to have come down to dollars because he was extremely comfortable here. But yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge him that. I mean, it's just really awkward. But man, you could have seen the writing on the wall. People were raving about him in that stretch where Arizona won 14 out of 15 games. You know, his name started to ring out. And the other thing that I learned about playing professionally was there's an intrinsic value to a proven product. You got 30 games of footage on Henri Veesaar. You don't have any footage on a kid coming out of high school, which is why the portal is crushing high school basketball, because coaches have to go with a proven fact. They have to go with something they know. If you're a guy who's looking to rebuild your team and you're a mid-major, or you just missed a tournament, or you're on the hot seat, you're going to tell your people, we need this kid from Arizona because we saw what he did in 20 games of Big 12 play. He can come here and dominate. He can come here and be a factor. You're not looking for the 6'10" high school kid. You're looking for the kid who actually has game tape. Game tape goes so far when you're talking about opportunities. Coaches don't want to make mistakes. ADs don't want to make mistakes. So a guy that's puts good stuff on film is going to be able to write his own check. And I believe that's pretty much what Henri Veesaar is about to do. Now, going back to KJ, you talked about intangibles. You know, I played with Reggie Gary. Well, at one point was assist leader at Arizona, steals leader at Arizona. I watched him lock up Jalen Rose. He was a defender, tenacious, nasty, intangible type player. Arizona fans only have to go back to the Oregon game and remember the final moments when we were all sitting on the edge of our chairs, sweating. Who hustled and forced a turnover on a missed free throw at the end of the game to get Arizona the ball back? Why did he do that? It wasn't in a play. Tommy didn't tell him to do that. He just did it and got us an extra possession, which got us past Oregon. Those are the types of things, like you mentioned, Saul, the times where KJ makes a steal that leads to a Delhi 3. Oh, Delhi played big. Well, who made the damn steal? Oh, we had a good run in the second half. Well, who fought through 3 screens and shut down their best scorer? Oh, you didn't see that. So when people make comments, that's why I love Arizona basketball, because you got everybody from the diehard fan to the layperson. You've got them all in there. So when people make comments, it immediately tells me 2 things: how much basketball you watch and how much basketball you understand. And for people who say we don't need KJ Lewis, we can go get another one. I only played with one Reggie Gary, and I played 20 years, and that's the only one I ever played with. And I was so glad he was on my team. So glad he was. I used to hate him. Me and Reggie just became friends like 10 years ago. We hated each other in college. Like, for real. Like, I just started speaking to Reggie when I hit 40. He was an asshole. Like, but that was, you needed that guy. You needed the guy that was going to run through screens and be an irritant. And I can tell people KJ Lewis's don't grow on trees. I'll throw a lot of names out: Momo Jones, Jawan McClellan, Jesse Perry, Eugene Edgerson, Michael Wright. These are dogs that have played in the Arizona jersey. They come along every 4 or 5 years. So when the people who say that about KJ, I don't get upset. I don't argue with them because I immediately know how much basketball they understand. I played 25 years of my life, and I never played with a guy like Reggie Gary. He was the only one that I ever played who just did stuff for no reason at all. Reaching, grabbing, pulling, getting steals. That was just in his DNA. That's who he was. So, the KJ Lewis one, you're not going to find KJ Lewis in the portal because the guys in the portal have made and scored points, and they've got game tape. There's no defensive stoppers. Oh, my D's so tight, I'm finna jump in the portal and see how much they're paying for defense. They're not paying for defense in the portal. Are you stupid? So you're not going to go shop and buy a defender. They're not for sale. You got to stumble upon one or create one on your own, because nobody's giving scholarships out for defense. Lute Olson did. Kenny Lofton, Reggie Gary. I mean, Kelvin Efon, like Luke would go get defenders because he knew the Pac-10 was serious. And we needed some dudes that did nothing but guard. They weren't going to get any fanfare. They weren't going to get any glory, but he would go get defenders. But, and all the top coaches had one or two junkyard dogs on their team. But nowadays, you can't get no scholarship playing D, not no Division I Power 5 scholarship. So maybe Arizona gets lucky and they draft somebody with that DNA or they sign somebody with that DNA, but I wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't count on it either. There's some guys, that have been rumored to possibly come here in the transfer portal, and we'll get to them in a second. But overall, I agree. Corey, it's about the players that you have that already know your system. And listen, every player has flaws. Like, people are just harping on flaws. Like, oh, well, he did this, he did that. He dribbles through double teams. He's a little erratic. He couldn't shoot the three. I'm like, okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah, this year, not very good from three. Also, had a really bad hand. Those things can be, can both exist at the same time. But I'll tell you what, there was a couple games where he saved them offensively, getting to the bucket, getting some shots, some jumpers to go his way. You look at the Kansas game in the tournament, he bounced back just a week later to face the team that he struggled probably the most against just a week ago. And he rebounded and he played very well. Like, these are the things that we tend to harp on the negative because we get hurt. As a fan, you get hurt when you feel like a player that you've emotionally invested in turn their back on you and turn their back on the program. But that's not for you to decide what they get to do. Like, they're all independent. Listen, you will be healthy and happy if you understand that every single player that walks through that door, no matter how much they rep Arizona from day one, you'll be much better off if you just understand that the possibility exists that they could leave, whether it be to the NBA or to another school. It's just what it is. And if you understand that and you can rationalize that, yeah, it hurts, but you can apply some proper perspective to it. And listen, I'm always going to champion players wanting to get theirs. They're taking advantage of a system that exists right now, which I think is completely flawed. And we'll get to that in a second. But it's the system the way it is. It's the Wild West, and everybody's got to go out there and get theirs. And that includes Arizona trying to go out and get pieces to come in here. And the last thing I'll say on Henri Veesaar is people are saying, well, Arizona didn't want to pay him the money. Okay, well, that might be true. I don't know if Arizona was like, hey, we'll pay you X amount of dollars, but North Carolina came in at double. But what I will say is this. Like I said, you're only as good as your options. And there might be a real world out there where they looked at the dollar amount North Carolina was offering and they said, nah, we're good. Like, we're not going to overextend ourselves, right? Like, look at Umar Bala last year. They weren't going to match that.
Nah, why would you?
Got the bag at Indiana.
We got the Sweet 16 without them. And we were able to redistribute. So you need him more than we do. So go ahead and break the bank. Plus, you got economies of scale. You've got different situations where certain people have different NIL abilities, which that's going to be a nightmare in the years to come. We'll talk about that later. But right now, yeah, if you've got no leverage and you barely made the NCAA tournament as North Carolina did, you need to go all in on a guy who was not even one of our top 4 offensive options. You need to spend them chips on him. We don't. We were good. We play in a conference. Our strength of schedule was good. We had high-level talent. We played on ESPN all the time. We were a lock for the NCAA tournament before the season even started. Y'all weren't, but we were. So, yeah, our 6th man, our 8th, that's a starter for y'all. And I hate to say that about North Carolina because they got a tremendous historic program, but they weren't where Arizona was this year. They just weren't. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think to just capitalize off this last point, Conrad, Martinez, and Emmanuel Stephen. I know Emmanuel was frustrated at the minutes that he was getting, but at the same time, I think with a player like that specifically, you just need to really take a look and understand like what you are able to provide a team. I don't know what just happened to Corey, but he's gone. What you're able to provide a team and what what kind of value you're going to bring to the table. And in the case of Emmanuel Stephen, clearly, I know redshirt was an option, but he didn't want to take it. And because of that, he didn't want to take it. And that was when Krivas was still existed. So you knew you were already two guys down on the depth chart. So you're number 3. You move up to number 2, you think you're going to get some burn, but again, skill set, ability, awareness, all that stuff plays a factor. You don't just throw guys out there because you just want them to be out there and you're trying to develop them in games. Like, a lot of factors go into this stuff, right? Conrad Martinez at least gave it 2 years to try and attempt to get on the court. Had a couple opportunities, but nothing significant enough to really like create, substantial minutes. And honestly, like, hey, in the few times that he did play, he didn't hurt the team. He did very well. He got in the NCAA tournament, played against Oregon, had a tremendous steal right before the half. Like, these are things that, and he hit a 3 against Duke, like when they needed some momentum. Like, again, like, props to him. He gave it 2 years and he's out. Same thing with KJ Lewis. Gave it 2 years, he's out. Henri Veesaar gave it 3 years, he's out. I'm cool with that. If you gave it a chance, cool. But the 1 year burn, to me, that's a little too short-sighted in my opinion. I'm not blaming the kid for taking a bag if he got offered a bag somewhere else. But again, like I said, we're going to talk about, all because you go to the portal doesn't mean A, that you get a bag, and it also doesn't mean B, that you got another place to go to. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Again, let's just talk about the players that are coming in, okay? Right now, what we know, Dwayne Aristode, stud, foreign player, coming in, good all-around game, can handle the ball, can shoot, can take it to the rack, long, lanky, physical, good. Koa Pete, last week, obviously, as you all know, Koa Pete, one of the top-ranked players in the country, the top-ranked player in Arizona State basketball history, had 4 straight state championships, 3-time Gatorade Player of the Year. He signs with Arizona, or commits to Arizona. So you have some pieces that are coming in on top of Bryce James, and then on top of that, the expectation or the reality of a possible Braden Burries coming to the fold, which would be huge as well, to help solidify a little bit more of that backcourt. So you're looking decent. Now you add 1 or 2 pieces, and assuming or hoping that Carter Bryant comes back, you're cooking with grease all over again. The only thing you might have to shore up is, as long as you don't lose Tobe Awaka and Krivas, if you lose one of them, you need to find a big immediately. But as long as you don't lose 1 or 2 of those guys, getting another athletic big would be in the cards, but not an absolute necessity. So I like where Arizona's at. I do.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Big 12 was no joke, folks. No joke. Houston was that deal. Texas Tech was a meltdown away from being in the Final Four. Kansas had a down year. Iowa State choked. You could have easily had an all Big 12 Final Four. Easily. If Texas Tech handles their business and Iowa State plays the way they always play, no one would have been surprised if Iowa State Cyclones would have ended up in the Final Four. And if Arizona plays a little bit better and knocks off Duke, then maybe we're there against Alabama. But my point is this. You walked out on the court with Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley, Townsend, and KJ Lewis night after night after night in the Big 12. How many miles was on Caleb Love? How many hours was under Townsend? Krivas had miles on him. Bradley, top guard in the country, Alabama, 2 years at Arizona. Nobody was shook. Nobody was brand new. These are big names, but these are also young guys. And you got to walk that gauntlet in the Big 12 with a bunch of young. Oh, it's our first time at Baylor, first time at Iowa State, first time at Texas Tech, first time. Oh, it's their rookies. We got to give them a grace. But Arizona fans ain't giving nobody no grace period. So while I like the talent level, I grade on a curve. The only body that's been a curve buster is, and I hate to give him props, but the kid over at Duke, Cooper Flagg, he's doing what freshmen normally don't do. And people forget, not only is he running the show and going to a Final Four, this fool classed up. He's supposed to still be in high school. So if Koa Pete is going to come on some Cooper Flagg type stuff, then yeah. But for me, I'll be honest. I'll say it right here and now in April. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see what they're looking like mid-December because the names and the hype and the social media around it all, that ain't going to win you a damn thing when you got to go to the Marriott Center and play BYU. And we already know what BYU coming with. You seen any portal action in Provo? No. They ain't got money problems in Provo. They just dropped $7 million on the best player in the country. So you're going to be going against teams that are tweaking, and we're in a full-on rebuild. And I'm sorry, but this is not one of them podcasts where I'm going to sugarcoat it and just say stuff to make everybody happy and keep y'all watching. I'm keeping it real. We are building from the ground up next year.
Ooh.
So,
okay.
Crevis, come on back with that healthy foot. Is JB staying?
Yeah.
That's huge. That's at least ball security right there. We know stuff going to get ran the right way with Jaden Bradley on the team. So that's cool. Carter's got some miles on him now. He'll be, if he comes, he'll be solid. He'll be better. You know what I mean? But he won't be a Caleb Love by any stretch. No. Caleb Love did the heavy lifting. Sure. So, it's going to be, they're going to have to get something out the portal, but make no mistake about it. You take the court with a bunch of kids and it's their first go round, it might not look that great, especially when you get into Big 12 play.
I will say this. I mean, I know you're keeping it real. I'm going to dispute what you're saying. And I'm going to say you're keeping it real wrong right now because you got a team in Duke who's not just Cooper Flagg. You got Con Knipple, freshman, Maluak, freshman. Like, it can be done if you surround them with the right coaching and talent as well. And I think because you have JB, who's a veteran, because you might have Tobe and Krivas and possibly Carter Bryant, veterans, I think you have an opportunity to add another veteran in the portal or two, and then be able to introduce these freshmen accordingly. And listen, physically, and that's one of the biggest problems with freshmen coming in is physically they just get overwhelmed. True. Koa Pete will not get overwhelmed physically. He's not going to be overwhelmed physically. Listen, I saw Cooper Flagg up front, Corey. I saw Cooper Flagg up front. I've seen Koa Pete up front. Not much of a difference size-wise.
Okay, I'm going to take your word on that because I haven't seen a lot of Koa Pete.
And Cooper Flagg was dogging everybody physically.
But I'll tell you this.
Match up with him on Arizona.
I'll tell you this. I'm going to give you a lot of points because I totally forgot about Tobe. If Tobe's back, that does shore things up considerably. I forgot about that. That slipped my mind. But him in the lineup with Krivas, JB with the ball, now we're really filling 2 spots instead of 3. So, yeah, maybe I was a little over the top with building from scratch, but we definitely will have to try to get to a good, solid 8-man rotation. There's a lot. And I mean, if you're a coach, it's a great thing because, hey, come in, show us what you can do, and let those guys fight it out for those top 8 spots. I mean, that's a great place as a coach. See who wants it, see who steps up.
Yeah. One of those players that's rumored to be possibly coming over to Arizona, or at least in conversations, what I do know is it's been reported that a Zoom call has happened with Tyrone Riley from San Francisco, 6'6" freshman. He put up about 9 points, 5-6 rebounds a game. Defensively, one of the highest rated players in the country in terms of overall ability. He graded out in the top, I think 5 percentile nationally, which is, hey, that's good. If you're going to try and replace KJ, you might as well get somebody that's rated really, really high on the defensive side of the ball, right? A little bit of an unorthodox style of play, likes to cut to the basket. He's basically an at the rim or a 3 type of player. He's not going to hit the midi. He's not interested in the midi. Overall, as a freshman, he's got that experience, played in the West Coast Conference. So, he played against St. Mary's and Gonzaga at least 4 times, which is good. Outside of that, I would have been a little bit nervous about what are you getting with this kid at a mid-major? Right. So that would be my one concern is that has he played against enough elite competition? But the length, and here's where I'm going to go with where I kind of see where Tommy and his crew are going. They're not going for the tweeners. They're not going for the guys that are small. You're looking at the shortest guy on the roster right now might be JB. Or it might be, if they get Braden Burries at 6'4", those guys, that's it. Everybody else is long, lengthy. They can be physical. So I kind of like that versatility, because you need that versatility, especially in today's game with the players that have to be, have to switch up and match up on the perimeter. You have to have that versatility. And so that in terms of where Arizona is going is good, in addition to the freshman pieces that they have coming in. And I saw you roll your eyes. I'm not letting you get away with that when I mentioned Bryce James. Listen, Bryce James is not going to come in here and play right now. He's not. That's not going to happen. Now, ironically speaking, he did hit a growth spurt again. So by the time he gets here, who knows? He might be 6'10", and everything changes a little bit. I don't know. But what I will say is, he's a development project. We always knew he was a development project. We always knew that it was going to take some time. And again, when we're talking about Henri Veesaar, if you look at Bryce, if he's here for 1 or 2 years and starts to develop, you're hoping that second, third, fourth year, he's going to be able to contribute at a certain level. That's the hope, in addition to everything else that he's brought to the table with them, including the relationships with Clutch and his dad, obviously, which lent its hand into getting a guy by the name of, what's his name? Oh, yeah, Koa Pete. So everything balances out. And so I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, man, I don't know. Yeah, I'm in a wait-and-see approach too, but I have confidence that things are going to be all right.
As an analyst, I'm going to say this publicly before Arizona plays. I don't have any expectations out of seeing Bryce play or anything contributing or anything like that, because I have a real assessment of where his game actually is. Now, do I think he won't ever see the floor? Of course not. I mean, everybody sees the floor, but what I fear, and I don't talk too many times about things that concern me, is the media circus surrounding him, much like what happened at SC with his brother. Arizona's never had to deal with anything like that.
It's not going to be the same.
You say that, but it's LeBron James. It's LeBron's son. ESPN isn't going to pick up additional games because Bryce is on the roster. The games that they're going to pick up are going to be the games that they think are good games. Fans that are coming to see him do something, you may have to wait till the end of a blowout or go to a practice if you can sneak in, because there won't be a whole lot of situations for him to play, but he's still sitting there. The flesh and blood son of one of the greatest players in NBA history will be in the gym every game, impossible to ignore. And I don't know if it will be a distraction or it won't be a distraction. Who knows? I know from what I know, so I shouldn't say I know, but I have the feeling that both of his parents completely understand the situation. I know the staff completely understands the situation, but will the fans and the media just let stuff be? Or will they poke and prod and create tension, and it'll be a big mess that nobody wants to address or deal with, because you got a million other things you need to deal with during the season rather than whether LeBron James' son plays. How come you're not playing the first time? And it better not be you. The first time somebody in the post-game presser asked Tommy why Bryce ain't playing, I'm coming down and I'm swinging.
Okay,
first of
all, Corey, let me tell you something about me, dog. At no point in time did I ever say Bryce James was going to play this year.
I know. I'm not saying you.
I just want to make sure we are on the record.
Come on,
by stating that Saul does not think Bryce James is going to get substantial minutes in number 1 year. If I didn't have adequate respect for your basketball IQ, I wouldn't be sitting across from you this evening. Now, you already know I'm not. You know the people I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you. There's some people out there that they're gonna do what they do. That's our job, right? But that's our job, is to inform everybody.
Is it?
I mean, listen. Our job is to keep it real, right? Our job is to keep it real, and we're keeping it real.
Our job is to keep it real. Other people's job descriptions are slightly different.
Don't have any expectations for Bryce James this year. If you're new to listen, it's the casual observer, the people that don't really follow until the season starts, or they touch base, or in those Facebook groups or those group chats or whatever, that don't really touch. They just see the name and they're like, why isn't he playing? I thought he's LeBron's son. He's got to be good. It's not the same. It's not the same as Bronny, It's not the same. It's just not. It's just not. So
This is not
again,
Peyton and Eli. Okay.
no.
That
It's
kind
not
of thing
1A,
doesn't
1B.
really
No.
always happen.
No, Bryce has got some work to do. He knows that. His parents know that. The program knows that. That's why they were all willing to get in bed together and make this happen. So that's why I think this is a good situation for Bryce, because Tommy's a good developer of talent. But again, in this NIL era, there's so many things that can be good and bad, and we've talked about a lot of them, but we're going to get to more right after this break. Folks, listen, if you've never been to Circle K, I don't know what's wrong with you. Circle K, greatest convenience store in the history of mankind. Go check it out. It's probably right down the street. There's like a Circle K on every other block. You know why? Because they want to be where you are. They want to be in your neighborhood, and you should go to the closest Circle K to get yourself hooked up. Today, 25 cents off per gallon for everybody, but every other day, if you sign up for the Inner Circle app, you get 25 cents off a gallon for your first 5 fill-ups. That's a pretty good deal to me, especially in today's economy where you don't know where gas prices are going to be. I swear last week it was like $3.50 and this week it's like $5.50. I don't know. It's all over the place. So let Circle K help you. And then go get yourself a little drink, a snack, or whatever at their convenience. They got great convenience options. But again, Circle K is where it's at. Go to circlek.com for more details, and make sure you download the Inner Circle app today. And then after you do so, make sure you just get online, hang out, watch us, and after the show's over, go scoop you up one of these lids because they're pretty snazzy. As you can see, Corey's wearing, I'm wearing branded bills, the headwear choice of everybody. That's cool. How about that? So branded bills, premium headwear and apparel. You can't go wrong. They got so many designs. I got another one right here. They got all the colors, they got all the designs, they got the A, they got the old school cactus logo, they got the Cats logo, they got different colors too, so you can rock it. You can rock your team no matter what fit you're putting together. That's the best part of branded bills. They're not going to just be like, oh, no, we can only be red and blue. As long as they don't make it in maroon and gold, I don't care. You put it in whatever you want, and I'm going to wear it because black and white is dope, and I like it. So save yourself 20% off by going to brandedbills.com and using promo code PHNX and hook yourself up today. Again, brandedbills.com is where it's at, and you can rock it as part of your repertoire at any time. And most of us will be out there repping it next weekend at the Green Jacket Open out at Dobson Ranch. If you don't have anything to do next weekend, you love golf, you love the Masters, or if you just want to kick it with the homies, sign up 3 other guys in addition to yourself or 3 other people in addition to yourself and come out, get a foursome, and have a great time. Limited edition PHNX gift pack. We start at 2 p.m. in the afternoon because in the morning we're all gonna just hang out and watch Saturday of the Masters. It's gonna be a great time. So come out, vibe out, enjoy the nice weather up here in Phoenix. I know it's Phoenix. I get it, but still, it's worth the drive. And listen, Dobson Ranch does it unlike anybody else. No other golf course does it like them. So you'll have a great time. I promise you that. So just come on out, and you can go to gophnx.com/events and sign up, and diehards get a discount. So hook yourself up today. All right, portal. Let's wrap it up with the portal. I don't like the portal because I don't like the way it's structured. It's not because I don't want kids to make money, because they sure absolutely deserve to get paid, especially when they're making billions of dollars for the NCAA, right? But I don't like the structure of how the NIL era has started and it's off to. Okay, and I'm gonna name off a couple key things that people may or may not be aware of about the portal. Ready, Corey?
Here we go.
Number one, over 1,700 players are in the portal right now as we speak. Okay.
Damn.
I think it's closer to 1,800. 1,800. There's 300 Division I programs in basketball. That's an average of like what? What do the math? Like 5 a team?
5 and a quarter.
Oh my goodness, that is crazy. Okay, that's number one. On average, 40% of them will not find another school to play at. On average. There's been some years where it's been closer to 60%. That's just wild, okay? 60 to 70% of kids, now I know we're about to get into academics, and a lot of you are going to be like, these kids don't care about academics. I get it. Some of them do, though. You don't know. 60 to 70% of credits on most cases, will not even transfer to the school that they're going to. It's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time and energy. The tampering and early contact through agents have made recruiting a 24/7 endeavor for coaches on staff. You constantly got to do pulse checks with your own interior players. This thought of like, I'm going to break them down and build them up no longer exists. You got to build them up every single day. And that is tiring to constantly have to just worry about where a kid's mindset is at just because he had a tough practice or a bad day. Like it's really bad. And then the portal entry timing is abhorrent. Why kids can enter the transfer portal before bowl season or before the end of the NCAA tournament? Why that's even a thing is so outrageous. Could you even imagine? I think the guys on Up in Smoke, the podcast, said, JJ Watt said this on Twitter. Could you imagine if in the NFL guys could hit the portal after wild card weekend? They were a free agent. Any team could sign them. What are we doing?
I mean, literally, you're let's say you're in the playoffs. You're not going across the middle in the playoffs after wild card weekend. Why would I do that if I'm planning on going somewhere else? I may just, not play hurt. Maybe my leg hurts a little more than I thought. If we're going up against a team where I don't think we're going to win, maybe I don't suit up. Maybe I fake an injury. But the timing is disastrous. They've got to clean that up.
Earlier this year, we played a clip from Danny Hurley on 60 Minutes, and he talked about how he knew half of his team was already thinking about the portal, has already been contacted about the portal, and is already making preparations for what they're going to do after the season was over. Like, not even halfway through the season, this was already happening. So when you see guys that enter the portal and have a no contact order, it's hard to not believe what he said, because you just know that stuff is happening behind the scenes, because it's not the coaches or the schools reaching out. It's the coaches and the schools reaching out to their representatives, and then their representatives talking to that player, telling them what's the scoop. And that is just a bad recipe for not only the athlete, because now you got to, if you're a parent, you really got to vet the situation and make sure that this agent or this manager has really got your player's best interest in mind, or if they just want to cut of the bag too. And that's a bad problem. So I, Corey, have 5 solutions to how we can fix the portal. You ready? 1, you get 1 free transfer no matter what. You don't have to sit out a year or anything like that. You get 1 free transfer. Your first free transfer, you're out. You can do whatever you want. So whether it's after your first year or your third year, you don't have to graduate and be a grad transfer. You can just go. All right. After that, you have to sit out a year if you transfer. I think that's a good solid rule, because it prevents guys like Kirk Kriisa from going to their 4th school in 4 years. That's wild to me. Okay. Number 2, age restrictions. Okay. I'm not trying to see anybody in college basketball that's over the age of 24. I don't want to see it unless you are on a mission, or you got some other reason that extenuating circumstances, like sometimes medical red shirts. I get that. But if you like COVID years and all this other stuff, or trying to finagle this, like, man, I'm not trying to see anybody. I'm not trying to see somebody join a team because they have eligibility. Maybe they played JUCO a little later in life. They're 20, and now they're going to play until they're 25, 26, 27. Man, get out of here. Go somewhere else with that mess. That's crazy. Number 3, there should be absolutely, and I do mean absolutely, no contact with any players during the season. And if agents get caught, just like in the NBA, if you get caught as an NBA agent doing some shady stuff behind the scenes, you get disbarred from the NBA. You can't be an agent in the NBA circles. That should be the same thing in college athletics. Absolutely. If you're trying to get a bag for somebody at North Carolina, knowing that they're still at Arizona and the season ain't even over, you should be banned as well. To me, it's just common sense. 4, the portal opens 2 weeks after, not before, after the season. I think that's just common sense to me. Like, why would the portal open during the season? It makes no sense. No. And then 5, you should be able to provide incentives for staying at school, bonuses, escalators, whatever, which is a percentage of the NIL you get. So this is important, Corey. And the reason why this is important is because if you have a player that you get out of the transfer portal and you just throw the bag at them, right? You throw $10 million. All right, cool. Well, guess what? If that kid opts to stay at your school for year number 3, you got to give him a percentage increase of your NIL deal that you gave him. So let's just say it's 10%. You owe him another $1 million for the next year. So now his NIL is 11. That's what I would say. That will de-incentivize programs from throwing crazy money at athletes moving forward. And I think that will also give players a little bit more incentive to stay at the school that they're in, because they know they're going to increase their value. And with the rules that are coming into college basketball or college athletics in general, with the salary cap, the way it's going to be, I think this is a vital part. And that incentive has to be calculated. I think that should be part of it. So those would be my 5 solutions to the portal for every sport. But I'm interested to see what you have to say, Corey.
Kev, throw him back up again. 1 free transfer, then sit out a year for every other one. I think that gives the coaches too much leverage. I think every situation is different. If the coach that recruited you takes off,
let's throw that caveat in there. If the coach if the coach leaves, then you can bail too, no matter what.
Yeah, I'm all about players moving. I think I won't have to go through them point by point. I'll say this. You're right, because you have to change the ecosystem. You have to complete the loop. You're missing contracts and salary caps. Those are the only 2 things you need to do. Make and create a union that all Division I players have to join. Their contracts are between them as a union member and the school. Doesn't matter what school it is, but you can put all the different things in there. Got to go to class, can't get a DUI, has to go to team meetings, and you get your money. Secondly, you have to ban all outside money. Dark money will cause you to forfeit and have to repay any money you were given above the table. So in other words, if you're making $500,000 and some booster sliding you another 200 and it comes out, you got to give the school back the 500 and you get Nathan. See, people are motivated by money. They're not really motivated by penalties and fines. The NCAA doesn't have any teeth, but all you have to do is put the language in there. To stay eligible and complete in Division I athletics, you are allowed to get paid from your school. Nobody else. Whatever deal you negotiate with that school is paid on these terms. If we find out that you receive any other money, the school has every legal right to haul you into court and get all that money back plus legal fees. That will cut down on the boosters trying to circumvent the system. So you bring it all back in-house. That's the best thing you can do. And the salary caps. You have to have equal footing for everybody. Yes, certain schools have bigger donor bases than others. So how do you have a competitive conference? If you let things go the way they are, it's only going to be a matter of time. The SEC already has college basketball in a chokehold. You know why? Look at their donor bases. Look at the people in the industries. Do you really want, how long do you think it's going to be before all the Texas oil money makes its way into college athletics? It already has. So you're really just, I mean, if some tech giant it's in the Bay wants to make USF the number 1 school in the country, he could do that with the stroke of a pen. And then everybody's like, well, man, where did University of San Francisco come from? And how come they're the number 1 team in the country? Yeah, because everybody in the lineup is getting $5 million. And the guy that gave it to him doesn't even feel it. He doesn't even feel it. What you don't want is for billionaires to come in and start wrecking something that's been great for 80 years. You don't want that. So you have to have salary caps. And the penalty is any violations. Yeah, you lose your license as an agent. But more importantly, the player is on the hook to pay back the school for any violation done by his agent or himself. Now, you talked about the tampering. That's going to be hard because you watch The Wire. People are going to find ways to communicate. They're going to do dirt. They're going to be codes and all kinds of apps with disappearing messages. That's going to be hard to police, but I love the spirit of the law. But in the broad strokes, I'm like, I agree. Change the portal timeline. Get a players union, standard contract. The only thing that changes in the contract is the amounts. And then say, hey, you got a 3-year deal. If you want to transfer, somebody's got to buy you out. Players have to be moved into the professional era, the professional arena. Now, we do it all the time with child actors. They step into Hollywood and they start making their money and they have agents and handlers and they sign contracts. And I mean, young people enter professionalism all the time in this country. So just take this last step and make them all pros. You're going to have an issue and some pushback with that age restriction because of schools like BYU and Utah, where they go on the 2-year mission and they come back 20, 21 years old.
Request.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways around it, but you've got to level the playing field, because the one thing that we know about this country, sports is entertainment. Entertainment means something's exciting and you enjoy watching it. When things become predictable, they become boring, and nobody watches anything boring. Right now, the number 1 seeds have all descended to the Final Four, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody surprised? Do you think if you tag the NIL to all the schools, you think the brackets kind of didn't play out based on NIL? The money is showing up. So for college basketball to save itself, you have to impose a salary cap, because people will not. We did 1,700 games with ESPN last year, men's and women. If 98% of them don't matter, what happens to the whole model? It falls apart. If people aren't watching, the NBA has a similar problem right now, but we won't talk about that. But the moment that the uncertainty is gone from college athletics and it loses its appeal because all the mid-major guys are now the 8th and 9th players on the bench at some Power 5, and nobody's upsetting anybody in March Madness, CBS has already paid an arm and a leg for the broadcasting rights of something that's on the verge of being put to sleep next year if they don't fix this. There were one upset first round. Who was it that got? Come on, man. That was it. It was only upset.
McNeese State, I think that was it.
McNeese State gave you one Cinderella. So your product is already being diminished by the NIL structure the way it is. If you don't rectify this with salary caps and contracts, you're going to have a trash product. There will be no mystery. There'll be no excitement. Every game will be predictable. Your non-conference schedule is just going to be teams that you bring in and pay to take a beating. Then you're going to get into conference. Your preseason voting will be, who has the most money this year? That's preseason number 1, number 2, number 3. And I guarantee you, when you check back with the conferences in March, it'll have played out the exact same way. So there'll be no mystery, no excitement left. Fan bases will know, well, we only had $2 million this year. 8th in the conference is the best we can do. And they'll be right. They will be 100% right. So you make a lot of great points. I don't know who or how that union mechanism is going to come, but you have to have one governing body contracting with another governing body, and everybody in those two entities has to play by the rules of that agreement. Then you go back to true competition. Hey, Duke and Arizona go after a kid. He goes to Duke for a 3-year deal. He's there. The fan base can fall in love with him. The guy that goes to Arizona, the fan base can fall in love with him. If the kid wants to leave, we're made whole financially. We take that money at the end of the season, and where we used to recruit, we get on the phone with agents at the appropriate time where we haven't damaged the quality of the product. But it's going to take people a lot smarter than me to figure out what entity can be created that all players must fall into in order to play collegiate basketball. So you make a lot of great points. I think you're 100% on the right track. I agree with a lot of everything you said.
You know, it's just, there's just so much frustration. And, you know, I was reading a comment the other day. It was just like, you know, like these players have no loyalty. And I was just like, the players are taking advantage of a system that exists. They don't know loyalty right now. Like the most loyalty they have is to their, like what they played. They had to play 4 years at a high school, you know, and then go to college. And some of them didn't even stay at the same high school that they started at. Like, you know, how many times? Look at Marvin Bagley Jr. You know, like he started off at Corona, then he went to Sarah High School. Like these things happen, and well, like this AAU movement, you know, and just kind of jumping ship from one thing to the next. I'm not saying it's the player's fault. What I'm saying is the NCAA is supposed to be the institution that kind of that has fostered an environment for, you know, fans to really cheer on their school and be proud of the players that are representing the school. But the problem is every single year, you don't know what players are on your school anymore. It's constantly in flux. It's always changing. We have a passion for Arizona athletics because we grew up, you played, I grew up watching it. Like I fell in love with players that were there for 2, 3, 4 years, most of them 3 or 4 years, right? People, you look at Richard Jefferson, people would be like flabbergasted that a guy like Richard Jefferson played for 3 years at the University of Arizona. Like, because he could have gone to the lottery first or second year. Like, these are the things that I'm like, we have to do a better job of investing and making sure that the college experience and the college environment is still somewhat representative of the traditions of college athletics and colleges themselves. Otherwise, this whole thing is nothing. It all falls apart quickly.
What I would challenge someone to say is, don't say the kids don't have any loyalty. Take one further step and be 100% honest. Just say, I don't like the new system. Because as adults, we are used to the old system where kids committed to a school and we got to know them, and then they made their money if they were good enough to go to the NBA. Just say you don't like the new system, because here's the problem. There's a website called Indeed.com, and there are millions of people on that damn website, grown-ass adults who have jobs, but got their ass out there looking for something better. So don't sit here and tell me we don't function the exact same way in the adult world as these kids function. There are entire websites.
I thought about that, Corey. Here's my caveat to that, though, okay? None of us are doing anything outside of this podcast on TV. We're not watched at least 35 times a year, watching how we do our job, when we do our job, and how efficient we are at our job. We don't get that. So we don't have people calling us in most cases. Now, you got some high-profile people out there. Congrats on your money. Good job on the bag. But I'm not one of those guys. And if people could watch me work every single day nationally, I do wonder how that dynamic would change. But most people are not in that common space. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, that's my point. My point is the rules that we function by every day when we get up and get out of bed, we go out into the world and we try to do the best we possibly can for ourselves and our families. We try to take advantage of every opportunity. We try to put ourselves in the best situation. And now that we see young kids who are supposed to be in dormitories eating pizza, being broke, now we see them playing strong safety for Ohio State, making $2 million. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of people who don't like that. Now, if the kid's 3 years older or 2 years older and he's got a Cincinnati Bengals helmet on, you're cool with that. But you don't like him being part of a machine that makes tens of millions of dollars and being paid a fraction for his participation in said machine. It's just, we are stuck in our ways. We don't want to see the pro model slapped on college athletics purely out of nostalgia. That's your only argument. You have no sane argument as to why these kids shouldn't get paid. They definitely should get paid. Now, have they done it the right way? Hell no. They've made a horrible mess of it. But the theory and the concept,
the NCAA, not the kids.
Yeah, the NCAA has. But the theory and the concept of somebody being a part of a machine and going unpaid is un-American. Where do they do that at? Did Leonardo DiCaprio star in movies for free as a teenager? So why should Jaden Bradley play point guard at a school that makes $30-40 million a year from their basketball program? Why should he run up and down the court for free? He's a part of that program. They sell his merch. Huh?
Leonardo DiCaprio did have some growing pains. If you know, you know. Go ahead.
I don't know. But here,
he was on the show Growing Pains.
Oh yeah, he was cashing checks. He had an agent, he had handlers, he was cashing checks, he had his own trailer. I mean, he was doing it. Nobody bats an eye when they do it in Hollywood. And this is just an extension of Hollywood. It's entertainment. But here's the real problem, Saul. And I'm going to end the sermon here. What it really comes down to is the players are Kim K and we're Kanye. People don't want to feel like that. They have to come in. Nobody wants to be Kanye. They don't need us. They can come to Tucson, put the jersey on, and go about their life. And we left back in the club trying to find another one. A lot of guys, and what pisses me off as an alum is, I'll tell you this, I scored 6.5 points per game career at Arizona. I was not a bad boy. I didn't set the world on fire.
Real quick. For those of you streaming on our streaming platforms, make sure you head on over to the rest of this show over at gophnx.com. Everybody else, you're cool. Just stay. Enjoy. Keep going.
I scored 6.5 points per game career, but because I did it in that jersey, I had 7 NBA interviews. Brian Williams, one of the best centers to ever play at Arizona, 1991. Guy averaged like 12 and 6. But because he did it in that jersey, everybody knew what it meant. He was the 10th overall pick. Now you got people coming to Tucson to wear that jersey to get their bag up and then leave. And that's what irritates people, because you got people in this town that follow this program that have been doing it for 40 years, 50 years. So they have a bad taste in their mouth when you treat us like a trampoline. You come in, you bounce, and you bounce right on out. And you leave us with what? We got to find a new group of kids to get excited about every year. Our fan base is not used to the new system. And I give them all the space and latitude they need, because I agree, it's tough to watch. It's tough to go through. We are not used to this. Nobody wants to be Kanye. And that's all. I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. I appreciate that. Again, I think it's no different than, I think everybody would be on board if there was some structure to this. But right now there feels like there is no structure whatsoever.
None.
It's like
No.
It's like when you're raising your kids, right? If you just let your kids just do whatever they want all the time, they're always they're never gonna know where they stand. They're not gonna feel any type of validation. At some point, you're gonna have to fix that. If you give them the box by which to play in and give them like the structure, they can thrive in that structure. They can feel good in that structure, and they can get reinforced in that structure. And I feel like that's where we're all at as people that love the game, that love college basketball. We want equity across the board. We want to know where the lines are, and we want to know, how can my team be better in this way moving forward, as opposed to more money. We just need more money. I don't know how we're going to get it, but we just need more money. Like, it can't just be about more money all the time.
Yeah, but the blueprint is so obvious. I mean, how many teams are in the NBA?
30.
32, 28?
30.
I don't know. That shows you how much I watch the NBA. 30 teams. As an agent, you can only talk crazy to so many teams. You can only create so much leverage in that tight little ecosystem of 30 teams. You might tell your client, I'm going to go get you $30 million a year, but there ain't but 2 or 3 phone calls you can make. There's 300 Division I teams. These are NBA agents running amok, knocking athletic directors and coaches and GMs over the head with immense leverage. If you miss out on the top kids, your program is instant trash. So the prices are going through the roof because these guys they got 300 places they can go. You got kids taking money to go to a team that they know is not making the NCAA tournament because they don't care. The goal now is just to be a professional NIL kid for 5 years, maybe fake an injury and get a 6th year, however they're doing it nowadays. But they're content to just run around and be carpetbaggers, taking money from NIL school or taking NIL deals. So until they assist the schools and the coaches and the GMs, they're on the phone literally with the same guys that do NBA contracts. They're on the phone with guys whose job it is to create leverage. And these guys don't have 30 places to go. They got over 200 places to go. So yeah, the money's running away, and it could be really bad real fast.
It can be. But it's not really bad really fast. Us at McKale Madness. We appreciate you all for joining us today. Hope that last little bit was a little bit informational, educational, and entertaining as always. You can follow my guy at College Corey on Twitter and on Instagram. Also, shout out to the Tucson Summer Pro League because the open run is coming up when, Corey?
May 10th, Saturday, May 10th. We're about to, get a little light workout, a little tryout, see who's got what. And then we start hooping June 7th.
Corey loves the kids, so go check it out. What is it, TSPL.com?
TSPL.com. Registration opened up 2 days ago, and the divisions are almost filled up. We may have to turn it off here over the weekend. It fills up quick.
There you go. As always, we'll keep you in the loop. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman on Twitter and on Instagram. And you can also follow the show at PHNX_Wildcats. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out, folks. We really appreciate it. And if you listen to us on podcast, make sure you hit that 5-star and drop us a cool review. We'd really appreciate that. It helps us out tremendously. Really do appreciate all the love the last couple weeks while I was out at the tournament. Kevin and Damon did a killer job on their shows covering the NCAA tournament, which I thought was fantastic stuff. And the support for the show continues to grow. We really do appreciate it. Over 100 live on YouTube today, but almost 400 people watching us live in total on Twitter as well. So we do appreciate the love and respect we get. We love and respect every single one of you. As always, if there's breaking news, we'll be here. If there's anything to talk about, we'll be here. But until next time, next week, we love y'all. Bear down as always. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.